the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you!
Climate change is something that will impact all generations in the future if it isn't dealt with right now.
The scientists, including myself, have known this for decades, and politicians aren't taking it seriously.
There is already a sizable impact of both the climate and the ecological emergency. These things are real, they're not tomorrow, they're today. Already increased incidence of severe droughts in some areas, particularly in the developing world, in Central Africa for example, and increased incidence of severe, very heavy rainfall and seasonal flooding. We've seen footage from Bangladesh, for example, recently, where people, millions of people, are being flooded or at risk of flooding out of their homes, and these events are made more likely, more frequent by climate change. So this is already happening. It's already affecting people, often people in the poorest parts of the world, where there are the least resources to cope with it.
25% of global emissions in 2010. So you can imagine how much that's actually risen.
Droughts in Africa, hurricanes in the Caribbean, hurricanes in Mozambique and Asia. There are famines going on right now. There is flooding going on in Britain. The globe has already warmed up by 1 degree, but in some places it's warmed up by even more than that. This does affect everything. It affects our food, it affects where we can live, and it affects migration.
It's going to be huge. If food production starts getting affected by climate change, which it is already, then food production is in jeopardy. Future generations are going to be in real trouble.
To raise awareness and to encourage and force action on the part of governments.
To ensure the safety of our future generations, because the more we emit, the more they're going to have to deal with.
What Extinction Rebellion are calling for is a people's assembly.
It's to raise awareness about climate change and try and get governments to take it seriously and act in a way that will prevent ecocide on the planet.
Getting governments to stop using all the fossil fuels and switch to renewables would be a great start.
And the tactics we're using are disruptive, and it's not because we want to upset people, it's because we want to get the message out there, get the science out there.
It might be a little exaggeration because they need to get the point to hit home. Extinction Rebellion are saying exactly how it is, and that's the bottom line.
If the government don't start taking this seriously and taking action right now, the long-term impact is really going to be disastrous. We don't have very long to act now.
The next few years, the next generation will have a very precarious future indeed. There's no sure how long their future will last. I think we'll be robbing the future from the next generation if we do not act now.
Vegan, cutting out dairy. I've been vegetarian for a long time. I'm not taking any flights next year.
For example, not using as much heating.
Instead of using a plastic bottle, I've got a metal flask, which is proven to be better for the environment. Had this kind of debate for a number of years now, and which direction is it moving? It's hard to say. I would say that in general there's a kind of a growing coalition between the scientists, people on the streets, students, and many politicians in many countries, in China and France, the European Union and other places, that see this as a growing crisis, if not a full-blown emergency, and are willing to do something about it.